Hello, my name is James Jacobus. I'm a sophomore at Morristown High School, and this is my first year in the Life Design program. This is me, years ago, wearing a soccer jersey. I didn't play soccer because my parents wanted me to, or even because I was particularly good at it, but because I enjoyed playing it. At this age, the world felt pretty simple. I wasn't worried about career paths, GPA, or college applications. I was just fun-loving James. I'm starting here today because, to understand where I'm going, I had to look back at who I was before life became a series of checklists and requirements. We all start out with an unfiltered version of ourselves. We don't ask if our finger paintings or Lego towers meet standards or would get a good grade. We just build. Today I want to talk to you about how I'm trying to find my way back to that authenticity. When I think about growing up, 3 words come to mind: joyful, innocent, and creative-ish. I wasn't necessarily Picasso, but I had a childhood spark where you make and do things just because you can. There was a natural curiosity. Back then, learning wasn't a chore. It was a way to make new things and use in the future. If I wanted to build something out of Legos or run around a soccer field, I did it because it felt good. There was no end goal other than the experience itself. This image shows me trying to make a magnetile tower as high as I could. This was not the only time I tried doing this. I stacked the pieces higher and higher until I was standing on furniture to stack. Not because I wanted to impress a teacher or get a good grade, but because I wanted to see for myself how high I could build. I think we all have that version of ourselves buried somewhere. The version that didn't know how to be worried about school yet. Something happens as you get older. You stop playing and you start following directions. You start looking at the person next to you to see if you're keeping up. And slowly, that internal spark gets replaced by needing external validation. Fast forward to today. If you ask people to describe me, or if I had to describe myself, these are the 3 boxes I often find myself sitting in: stubborn, smart, and a rule follower. I'm stubborn because once I set my mind on how something should be done, I stick to it no matter if I'm right or wrong. Being smart sounds like a compliment, but it carries the weight of high expectations. A situation comes up where you're afraid to fail because smart people shouldn't get grades below average, or do worse than the average person. And I'm a rule follower because I've learned how to play the game of school very well. But here's the problem. When you spend all your time trying to follow directions and be the smart one, you start to lose that joyful kid from the first slide. You start doing things because you're supposed to, not because you want to. I realized I was becoming a person who was great at finishing assignments and getting good grades, but I had forgotten how to create something on my own. Everything I did other than hanging out with friends was something for school. I had no personal passions. So I decided to break the cycle. I wanted to take a class that wasn't really for a grade, wasn't for a resume, and definitely didn't follow the rules of a standard assignment. I created Obstacle. It started as a simple idea. How can I combine golf with an obstacle course? I decided to do this project because of my recent interest in real golf. I looked online to see if any other companies or board games had tried it, but I didn't see a single similar idea. I spent hours building and prototyping, and I had to find all the parts on my own, and it was actually fun. Building this project was a turning point for me. There was no rubric for obstacle. I had to decide for myself if an obstacle was at the right angle or weighed the right amount. I had to be stubborn in a good way, stubborn about solving problems and changing things about my project so I could make my envisionment a reality. And only changing minor aspects of my original idea. I had to be smart by solving problems when the ball wouldn't roll the right way. I had to apply my engineering skills and physics skills that I had gotten from different classes. And I was actually being creative again. This project reminded me that I'm at my best when I'm building something that you can actually touch, and a failed prototype actually felt better than an A on an easy test. The struggle belonged to me, and it gave me a reason to make my project better. As you can see, it went from a simple cardboard slab to this whole game you could actually see in a store. As you can see, I made a fully functional board game and had to be creative with obstacles to make them not generic, and I did that by making them 3D printed and magnetized to the board in order to make them connect easier and make them immovable if the ball hit them. I did this by adding a metal slab of sheet metal in the middle to make it all feel smooth. And it functions like a true board game. The outcome of this journey wasn't just a cool game, it was a realization about my own habits. I realized that I can be creative when I want to. But I also have to be honest with myself. I still find it hard to do more than what will get me a good grade. I also spend a significant amount of time not focusing my life design classes on my project. Also, if I believe that a project is at the level that my peers are at, I will stop there and not go the extra mile. That rule follower mentality is a tough habit to break. We're conditioned to memorize, regurgitate, and move on. We're trained to ask, will this be on the test, instead of, how does this work or why does this matter? But through this process, I've discovered a new preference. I enjoy making something instead of just memorizing. I'd rather have a finished product in my hands than that I built from scratch, rather than an A on a test that I'll forget everything about in a week. So where does this leave me? This is my map for the future. First, I want to take classes because I like them, not because they look good on a transcript. I want to chase my interests, even if they don't fit into a career box yet. Second, I'm making a conscious effort to enjoy life more and do more personal projects rather than focus my whole life on thinking about grades. Grades are a measurement of how good I am at taking tests and doing what teachers want, but they aren't a definition of who I am. My goal is to find activities and projects that I'm genuinely interested in, like obstacle golf. I want my future to be defined by the things I create, not just the rules I follow. We all have that innocent and creative kid inside of us. My goal over the next few years is to make sure he's the one calling the shots. Thank you.